Hello and welcome to another episode of the Aptcast, where iron sharpens iron and we poke each other with the pointy ends. I'm your host, Wes, joined as always with Alex. How's it going, buddy?
Hey fam, what's up, happy people? And yes, for another week, I welcome the sad people too, because Casey is not with us.
I still have yet to figure out why I talk about poking with pointy ends and you go pew pew pew. Like there's no sharp lasers, man. What are you doing?
It's my version of ting ting ting. It's easier to say pew 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 than ting ting ting, because I'm pointing your armor with the pointy end of my sword, dude.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right.
I need to come up with a sound effect to enter into the chat. Ting, ting, ting.
You just push the button.
Because ting, ting, ting just doesn't sound right.
That might get us canceled. Oh, my. Okay, so, yeah. Thanks for joining the Appcast. Sorry for the shenanigans. Not really, because that's what we do. You can catch us on all the podcast catchers, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everything. We're everywhere. We're on YouTube now, so if you're watching there, say hey, drop a little subscribe.
We're not omnipresent.
We are not.
We're not everywhere.
No, we're right where they are.
Okay. We're where you are.
Yeah. You're where I am. I'm where you are, and we are where you are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So hit a like and subscribe on that. Comment. Tell us how we're doing. Well, what you think of the videos. What else? We're on the social media, right? We're on Facebook, Gab. So head there, like us, follow us, all that good stuff. Send us messages. We love the feedback. Send us topic ideas if there's something you want us to discuss. And we're on Patreon. So if you want to like what you hear and want to partner with us, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you and love for you to partner with us. I hate asking for money, though, so I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, well, not today.
Well, we're going to do what good Patreon people do. We're going to start posting additional content, the outtakes, the silliness. Well, as if every moment of our podcast isn't silliness in and of itself. The real silliness in the members section of that eventually.
Yeah. So far, all the outtakes have made it into the final cut. So yeah, at some point. Oh, good. So this week. More folks are getting canceled, right? What, Dr. Seuss is now in the news? He's gone?
Oh, my word. Let me pull up the six books that got canceled. A buddy of mine on Facebook had a good point. You might want to go and buy those while you still can, because they could be worth a lot of money in a few years. The six Dr. Seuss books, the six Dr. Seuss books, say that 5 times fast. I couldn't even say it once.
Yeah.
The titles that were canceled, and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street.
Yep.
If I ran the zoo.
That's a good one.
Not my circus, not my monkeys.
That's right.
That's not one of the titles. That's just my interpretation.
It sounds like a Dr. Seuss title.
Yeah, right. Miss McElligot's Pool. On Beyond Zebra.
On Beyond Zebra. That's a good one.
Scrambled Eggs Super. And yes, it is super. It's not supper. I had to read that twice before I said it. The Cat's Quizzer. I don't even remember what these 6 books are about, but apparently they have racist undertones and were canceled. Hashtag cancel culture. Oh, and get this. I just happened to see a Snopes article today talking about some Dr. Seuss book that was canceled or wasn't canceled, and that the fake news conspiracy theory around it was false. And it was just a complete red herring from the fact that, hey, 6 Dr. Seuss books actually were canceled because of supposed racist undertones that don't really exist.
Yeah,
I just love Snopes. Their entire mantra is distract.
See, if you take an objectifiable fact claim and pair it with a subjective feeling or opinion, then you can fact check the opinion and go, well, they really believe that. So mostly true.
Yeah.
Mostly false.
Or a mixture.
Ignore this over here.
Or mostly false. Yeah, so it's just fun seeing that Dr. Seuss books are inappropriate content now. But the song of the year for 2020 was WAP, and I'm not going to say what that
Nope.
stands for.
Nope. Yeah. And since we're on the topic of cancel culture, and by the way, I've read 3 of those books. I don't remember them too much, but I don't remember any racism either. There's more racism in the Sneetches, but that's another story. Um, Mr. Potato Head was saved from cancellation. How about that?
Yeah, it was interesting. Isn't that Hasbro?
I think so. Yeah.
I forget which toy brand goes with which toy these days. They've changed hands so many times and bought each other out. Yeah, I
Yep.
saw that too. I saw a Facebook post that they had in fact decided not to sterilize Mr. Potato Head and Mrs. Potato Head.
Can you imagine watching Toy Story on Disney Plus and before it, the little warning that this contains outdated stereotypes that were wrong then and are wrong now? A little black bar come down every time there's Mr. Potato Head on the screen.
Oh my gosh. Disney Toy Story. Oh yeah, they'd so do that.
I mean, they
I'm
did it
sorry,
with a bunch
that's
of their
not
older
Disney.
stuff.
That's the oh gosh, what's the animation platform that
Pixar.
Disney's majority owned? Yeah, Pixar.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I think that was Pixar's first movie, actually.
Yes, I believe you are correct. They
Yeah.
had like a dozen movies planned over 15 years before they brought out their first one. It's really cool
Yeah.
seeing some of that history.
Yeah, it's really cool. Side note, the Pixar theory is one of the greatest fan theories, if not the greatest fan theory ever created in the history of ever. Are you familiar with that?
No, which one?
Uh, the idea that all the Pixar movies are in the same shared universe.
Oh, dude, we were watching um, Mulan, the old cartoon Mulan,
Yeah,
the other day,
an actual Disney one.
and there was a reference to another movie in there. And then the next night, we were watching. Was it the second? It wasn't the first one. It must have been the second one. The second Frozen movie, and Baymax was one of their Frozen
Oh yeah,
characters they were playing with as little kids. Yeah,
yeah.
dude.
I've heard that. Yeah, Baymax goes. Was it what's the one with the redhead that shoots the bow and arrow?
Brave.
Brave, Brave. Yeah. Um, the witch's house has a little carving. It looks like Sully from
Yes.
Monsters Inc.
Uh huh. Uh
Those
huh.
kinds of things. Like whoever came up with that and all the different. So we can make fun of the children's companies all day long, but let's end on a high note and go good on Pixar, whether that was intentional or not. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, bravo. I wonder if there's any references in the original Toy Story, the first one. I mean, they had like
Uh,
a 15-year plan, so surely they did.
I think there are like the pizza delivery truck. Well, the first entry was Toy Story, but the pizza delivery company is in a bunch of different Pixar properties,
Yeah.
not just the Toy Story ones. You see it in others. I don't know. It's fun. I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole now before we call it a night. But that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to talk cancel culture, and of all the folks to get canceled, boy, it's Chris's brother, the CNN anchor. Apparently now covering his brother is considered a conflict of interest. Who knew?
Now it is. I mean, it's
Yeah,
always been, but now it, you know,
yeah. It's fine when
believe
he's
all
breaking
women.
out the giant Q-tip, making fun of his brother and talking about who's the favorite of mom. When senior citizens were dying by the tens of thousands. But hey, what are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
And what kills me is they're still not talking about that, right? They are
Oh, they can't.
tiptoeing around, yeah, because he was the poster child for how to do it right for a
Emmy-winning
year.
governor for displaying leadership on TV.
Yeah. In irony, his state was always worst until California. I think California surpassed them at one point for deaths, but I saw just last week where because of the 15, 20, however many tens of thousands of deaths they had in nursing homes in New York, they were still overall number one. But at some point, I think California, the Bay Area specifically, surpassed them for a while. Obviously, not in total death count because that other report was just this last week.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
remember.
so
Oh, I was gonna say I remember last year I was looking at the data and the CDC split New York City from the rest of the state, and it was California, New York State, and then New York City, like in the top 4 or 5 constantly. So even without New York City, the state of New York was just a dumpster fire of COVID response the whole way. Even if you take that population density out of it,
yeah.
it was
And
insane.
isn't it wild that Governor DeSantis in Florida was just bashed for his lax response?
Hmm.
And they have similar demographics to New York. They have just a little more population than New York, and yet
And the
they
older
haven't had the,
population.
the older population, and yet they haven't had the level of COVID, either infections or deaths that New York has had.
Hmm.
They are among the lower half.
Yep.
So it's funny that he's been bashed for his response while Como was honored and praised for his response, and yet the 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 justification for each was flip flopped from what reality should have been.
Yeah.
Oh, gotta love it.
Who was it? Politico, Slate, Salon, one of those lefty online
Oh, whoa,
news
whoa, whoa!
sites.
Politico is about as non-political as it gets, according to all those polls about
Bro, it's in the
the social.
name. Politic.
They're about as
Seriously.
nonpartisan as it gets, man. Haven't you
Yeah.
seen those graphs?
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I have no idea what I was saying now. Uh,
Politico.
no, they wrote something comparing the results of um, Florida and California and talked about how similar they were. And it was so crazy to think that California, whose population is much larger than Florida, but whose median age is among the lowest in the country, if not the lowest, and the death rate per 100,000, whatever metric they're using, was almost identical to Florida's, who's one of the oldest states, median age in the country, and this virus is killing older people more than any other single demographic, with the
Oh yeah,
exception of people with what three or more
three or
comorbidities.
more comorbidities,
And so
or who
you've
were
got
dying anyway
DeSantis,
and just happened to get the virus.
yeah, got the virus and then died in a car wreck. Those kinds. But you have DeSantis looking at the numbers. You would think DeSantis and Newsom, um, based on their response, Florida not having hardly any lockdown for the majority of the time, California having the some of the strictest lockdown policies in the country, and the results are almost identical. You go,
Hmm.
wait a minute. Well, okay, the lockdowns aren't really working. The additional um, policies and procedures that they're putting into place, that's not helping any. And then if you just look at the age thing, you would think Florida would be much higher on that list, but nope. It's
Hmm.
crazy.
And
It's
how about our
crazy.
boy Newsom? The people of
Our boy.
California finally got enough signatures to do a recall. Oh my
Oh
God.
yeah, canceling
He
Newsom
actually
too.
had the audacity to claim it was a coup. So the legal approved way to get rid of a governor that does not represent the will of the people is a coup because it's not his chosen policy. That's
Mhm.
hilarious.
Oh yeah, this it. who- and let's not just put it on the Democrats. Let's be honest. The mainstream political parties, Republicans and Democrats, they love democracy until the other guy wins. Am I right?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Both
trivia though on that. The last time California had a recall and elected a new governor, you know who got elected?
tell me it wasn't Arnold.
It was. That's
Is
the
that
only
how
way he was
Arnold
able
got
to win.
elected? Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's hilarious.
because I think their um, procedure is not with a runoff down to the last two. It's just out of everybody whoever gets the most finishes the term.
Huh. Intriguing.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting saga to watch.
I
So we've got.
obviously don't care enough about California's political system to have researched that for this
I didn't either.
or
I
to
just
have
happened
just
to
known
hear it.
it.
It's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
I wonder which Hollywood persona is going to get it this time. There's probably going to be dozens of people on the ballot. That's going to be hilarious.
Oh, what's the really conservative dude who likes to blast people on Twitter?
James
Wood
Woods.
James. Yeah, yes, James
Yeah.
Woods. Does he live in
Oh,
California?
I hope so. Golly, that would be hilarious.
Where does he live? Mass? No, Utah. No, he was born in Utah. Went to he went to MIT.
Yep.
Wow. Was in the U.S. Army as an intelligence officer. What?
Yeah. He's
Tons of
not a
things.
dumb guy.
Right? I mean, duh. But you're
That
more impressive
said,
than.
if he lives in California, I think that might be a black mark against
Yeah,
his
it's
intelligence.
definitely a black mark. I don't know. Wherever he lives, who knows?
That'll be interesting to watch. So you got both coasts, two of the most recognizable Democrat governors, one being overturned by the people, the other by public opinion.
Yeah.
And and back to Cuomo, he can't even claim due process, right? Because Kavanaugh, you
Oh,
know,
hey, trust women. Trust all women.
well, yeah, you got to believe them all.
Believe all
That's the
women.
rules.
Well, we
And
don't even have to believe them. There's apparently enough photographic evidence to convict him in the court of public opinion.
word,
Uh, the day after the second woman, no, not even the day after, the day the second woman announced her story, a woman named Anne Ruck, I guess it's
yeah,
Ruck, Ruch, that he had flirted with her at a wedding, put his hand on her lower back, and pulled her close to him.
was that the one where the picture he's
Yes, yes, where he's
oh my
holding her face
gosh,
like he's about to eat her head. Uh, wow, that was interesting. And that's apparently as he's asking her if he can kiss her,
yeah,
where he's holding her head. I mean, like fingers curled around the back of her neck.
no pressure.
Yeah, it almost looks like a doctor uh, looking at something wrong with her forehead or with her face
Yeah,
or with her eyes. Like it's that intimately touching her is weird.
yeah, and that picture is the one who that had some kind of weird lighting thing where his skin looked all red.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a wedding,
Yeah.
so it's probably. I'm I'm not saying it. I'm just saying.
You're not saying that. You're just saying.
Yeah, I'm not
No,
saying he's
that's
the
what.
devil in the flesh, but that wasn't a tan.
Yeah. Who knows? It's pretty freaky. But well, you know, can we just talk about the double standard? And we talk about this often. And the right is just like we talked about last week. The right is
Yep.
just as guilty about it. But when it comes to this whole believe all women and Me Too movement, when when a Democrat gets exposed, they soft step that attitude or
Hmm.
backpedal on it so ridiculously. It really makes me want to jump through whatever medium I'm dealing with, listening to or watching them, and just slap somebody in the face. Joy Behar on The View the other day, Meghan McCain laid into the whole situation right after Joy Behar did a whataboutism and was like, if they're going to investigate him, they better investigate Kavanaugh and Trump. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like she had the audacity
Still on
to,
this.
yeah, she had the audacity to defend him with she didn't say it, but the suggestion was, well, if they're going to going to investigate him, they better go back and do a real investigation on Kavanaugh instead of this 2 or 3 day uh, it quick interviews and dismissing it and just ignoring Trump. Yeah,
Pretty sure there was a 2 week investigation that delayed his confirmation vote.
yeah.
Now,
And
granted, two
not
weeks isn't a
only
long
that, they
time.
had done months of research beforehand.
Yeah.
So I would imagine if there was validity to it, they would have uncovered something
This
before
dude brought
she
his college
appeared.
diary to his hearings too.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was
Oh my
wow.
word. Diary was hilarious. Um, but yeah, so and she's not alone. Like the
Yeah.
people who do talk about it talk for a few seconds about it and then push it off. When the first woman came out and talked about how inappropriate he had been and how the sexual uh, advances were so commonplace it was expected in
Hmm.
his regime, this was at the same time that the left was trying to cancel Ted Cruz for going to Mexico with his family, and the media were covering Ted Cruz wall to wall.
Oh
And
yeah.
if they covered Cuomo, the accusations against Cuomo, whether it was uh, the nursing home scandal or the sexual allegations, it
Hmm.
was like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute and a half versus half an hour wall to wall coverage of Cruz.
That's what you
So,
call selection bias.
oh man, I mean, you would have the kind of independent media, uh, unbiased claims that you feel you should be given, right? Instead of being called fake news and
Hmm.
scam and partisan, if you would just cover the stuff. You don't even have to give your opinion. I don't want your opinion. Just cover it. Give it the
Yeah.
kind of coverage with both parties that you give the other side. Give
Yep.
them even coverage. Talk about it. If you want to defend and defend him, but give it the same kind of coverage. Give it the same quality and quantity of facts. Even if you want to defend the guy, even if you think he's innocent,
Hmm.
don't just skim over it or put it in a ticker where somebody has to be watching the TV and reading the ticker to even find out about the news.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Mm, mm-mm.
Well, and I think or not the rather, but one aspect of this concept of believe all women, um, while I understand to a degree the impulse behind it, right? You want to, when somebody speaks out about this, your default as an individual needs to be believe them, right? You don't want the first impulse of somebody listening to an assault survivor recount their story to be cynicism or doubt. You want them to be
Well,
able to talk, and I get that. The problem with that is if your default is as a society, as a judicial system, we need to believe all women, as in the accusation itself is sufficient for conviction.
yeah, and
That's where you put yourself
that's
in a
my
corner.
problem with believe all women, right?
Yeah.
Trust but verify. If we want to default to not disbelieving them, that's a
Hmm.
good policy to have, right? But if we're going to trust or believe all women, there and there's a red herring argument that's very common when these conversations come up that false accusations are very rare.
Hmm.
Well, I don't care if it's 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000. If 1 in 10,000 accused people has their life ruined because we believe all women, that is one falsely accused and life ruined individual who will
Yep.
never get their credibility back.
Yeah.
I say take it with a grain of salt, let it play out in court. Don't get emotional one way or the other for or against it. When Kavanaugh was first accused, I immediately thought, "Oh well, this is convenient. Another Republican getting accused of sexual assault. Who could have called that?" But
Yeah.
I didn't go on social media accusing her of lying until there was very thorough evidence that her story just didn't hold up.
Yeah.
I don't care how reasonable she seemed, how genuinely emotional she was over the scenario. There was no consistency. Her story changed half a dozen times. The evidence wasn't there. Nobody would confirm her case. So when all of that adds up, I start to say, hey, this doesn't sound like it's valid. Kind of like when, oh man, was it Colonel West who was accused of it?
Yeah, Cornell West. Clarence Thomas was.
Clarence Thomas was accused of it. Man, it's really convenient how when one political party gets accused, it's, oh yeah, he's guilty. We have to hold him accountable before the first shred of evidence is ever presented. And then the other party gets accused of it. And if you hear about it, everybody's soft stepping it or walking back the attitude of believe all women. Believe all women, hashtag asterisks. Whether he's guilty or not is one issue. And based on the apology he gave this week, he just about admitted that the stories were all valid. He actually came out and said, I didn't mean to be inappropriate. I didn't realize my behavior was viewed as anything other than joking with coworkers and employees. And I was like, wow, dude, that a way to soft admit what you're being accused of.
Yep. Pretty much.
Man.
It's like the non-apology apology.
Yeah.
But right? I just meant it as a joke. If somebody else was offended, I'm sorry you took it that way.
Yeah.
That's basically what that comes across as. Yeah. And, and again, this is a general problem of confusing the individual response with, shall we say, the systemic response.
Yeah.
Right. If any of these three ladies had come to an individual privately, if Christine Blasey Ford had come to somebody privately and said that this happened to me, like that individual's default response would rightly be, I believe you, tell me more. Right. But the judge and the judicial system doesn't have the same purpose, doesn't have the same intention. And to anyone like Miss Ford or Dr. Ford, I don't remember if she was or not.
Yeah, doctor.
For somebody to have an experience like that recounted, I wouldn't even say she's lying. If something like that happened, we can have empathy as individuals for a hurting individual, and yet at the same time recognize that with all the information that's available, this guy probably isn't the one who inflicted that pain. So as real as that pain is, for any survivor, for whether it's sexual assault, whether it's just physical abuse, whatever the case is, the issue of dealing with the pain and how we approach the victim on an individual basis is different, or should be considered in a different sphere than addressing an individual with individual responsibility for that act or for those acts. And that's a problem that we see across the board. That's it's not just a problem when it's believe all women. That's a problem anytime you turn on the news and see white cop, black male victim. Right, you got the George Floyd, Derek Chauvin case going on right now in Minnesota, and a lot of people have already made up their minds, not by any facts that have been released. Number one, we're probably getting limited or skewed information on that, but two, making their minds up based on skin color. Right, and that's just as wrong as basing your belief on the gender of the person or sex or whatever terminology you want to use. There has to be a way to reconcile the accuracy of the charge before there's a punishment administered.
Yeah,
and the left has forfeited that. Right, that they don't have a standard if your standard is the accusation is sufficient evidence.
Yeah, cancel him.
Yeah, whether it's cancel him, whether he needs to resign, whatever the case may be.
Or it's
But
the impossible standard of cancelization due to something you said, you know, whether the context it's presented in is 100% accurate or it's completely out of context. If you said something the left currently doesn't agree with, or even a section of the politically active left, you get canceled. I saw where some student had been either rejected or their scholarship canceled or their acceptance to their dream college revoked because of something either explicitly racist or racially suggestive they had said and had been recorded. And
yeah, one of the classmates.
yeah, one of the high school classmates sent it to the college. I
Yep.
mean, come on. Well, let he who is without sin throw the first stone. Give
There
me
is
a
that.
break.
Hmm. But this favoritism can go one way, but not the other,
Yeah.
right? Um, if and I mean it's not just a recent thing. It's not just a Democrat thing. It's because it's not just a theological thing. We've seen it cross bounds, but this idea of affirmative action, going back to what the '60s and the Great Society, um, you know, for all the benefits that it had, it is at root a system that's predicated on skin color,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have opportunities that somebody else doesn't. The difference is your skin color. Whatever you believe about that, that's the reality, right? And when you come into a situation and you're administering what you present to be justice on the base of these immutable characteristics, whether it's gender, whether it's skin color, whatever it may be, um, just at least have the intellectual consistency or intellectual honesty rather to acknowledge it, right? That's what it is. And then when you turn around and want to say it can't go the other way, I mean, I don't think we would disagree. You shouldn't discriminate one way or another based on skin color, based on any of these things, and yet that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think it was in Virginia, maybe somewhere up on the East Coast. They had given out vaccines to first responders and maybe nursing homes or something like that. All the immediate need people, and as they shifted to the next phase of vaccines, they were basically telling older white people, "You're going to have to wait because we're going to the minority areas."
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh my word, that is so horribly unconstitutional. It's so illegal to intentionally discriminate against someone, whatever reason you
Mm-hmm.
think is justified for doing it, for reparations. Oh, Biden this week talking about um, they were going to try to take executive action without waiting for a congressional research committee to determine if reparations were a reasonable option. They were going to find a way to finance it
Oh yeah,
through
but not
executive
waiting on
fiat.
another congressional
Yeah.
study,
So I was, oh man.
another executive order coming down the
Yeah.
pike.
Have they passed a law yet? I haven't seen one. Has a single law been signed by this administration? 50 something executive orders, not one law.
Pretty much, yeah. And in Virginia, that shouldn't surprise us, right? That was Ralph Northam who advocated for having a born
Blackface.
baby. Yeah, blackface for one, but talked about on a radio show in an interview there, having a born baby that the mom wanted to abort, and then setting the baby on the table and then having the conversation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one of the laws that is being pushed through Congress right now enumerates that in the law as well. There was hype on it. Man, there's so much going on right now. I can't keep up with it all. Um, I'm pretty sure there's a law going through Congress right now that has basically the same thing. Or Republicans tried to amend a law and fight that, and every Democrat voted against it. I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah, the Abortion Survivors Act that what
Yeah,
Ben
yeah,
Sass
yeah.
put through or tried to put through last year.
No, this was with the new Congress. Like they voted on it
Oh,
again.
oh, fun.
Yeah.
So just another vote against the importance of life. But by golly, wear your mask.
Right. Man,
So how do you think it's going to end for Cuomo? What's going to happen? Is he going to step down? Is he going to get recalled?
well, New York Democrats are starting to get behind the idea of an impeachment investigation. They're not even calling for an impeachment trial. They're doing it the right way and investigating first, unlike our Congress
Oh,
with Trump.
go figure.
Uh, but New York Republicans are screaming for his impeachment and resignation. New York Democrats are even starting to talk about it. I mean, it's kind of hard to oppose at this point. It's political suicide to oppose investigating the dude who let 15 to 20,000 grandmas and grandpas die
Yeah.
because not let them, caused them to die by forcing the nursing
Yeah.
homes to take back known sick patients. Um, so gonna be interesting. Gonna be interesting to see what happens with him. I don't think it's gonna die. The story or the momentum is gonna die enough for him to survive it. He will have to resign. He'll get impeached. He may avoid criminal charges, but
Yeah.
I seriously doubt he'll survive as the governor.
Yeah. And this also, I think it needs to be said for this case. This isn't something that happened before he was elected and is getting drug up like the cancel culture likes to do. This
Yeah,
is stuff that he's done in his capacity as a governor while he's been governor after
yeah, abuse
election.
of his power as governor.
Yeah, and I think that's a critical piece as we're thinking through this too, because it's one of the examples that comes up is Marjorie Taylor Greene and all the stuff she said before she got elected. Like you can't use that as a reason to expel her or ban her from any committee assignments or things like that. Now, once she's elected, anything she does after that that's out of bounds, by all means. And so that's it, probably not the best example to use, but that's one that comes up a lot in conversation. But with Cuomo, like
I
this
hadn't seen that
is
comparison, but I mean, if we're gonna use Green as an example, all four of the squad deserve to be booted out of their assignments
oh, I
by the
agree.
standards they used on her.
Yeah, no doubt. Uh, I wasn't going to go with the squad, but yeah, that's certainly an apt comparison. But with Cuomo, this is behavior that has been a part of his administration, and that's where I think the calls for impeachment are legitimate. And
Yeah,
actually, you know what? Let's flip it around. Like with the whole Stormy Daniels thing with Trump, that happened well before he was president, allegedly. We don't really know, um, but there's probably some shady goings on, knowing Trump. But that happened before he was president. So to say that he should be impeached because of that, and not too many people were, but
well,
to
the argument was he broke campaign finance laws by paying her off, but it was never demonstrated he used campaign finances
right,
to pay the silencing. He used personal money. If they even demonstrated he actually paid her off for that, whatever. Apparently, she broke some non-disclosure agreement and ended up having to pay him back everything plus his legal fees. Kind of funny that didn't catch the news. Uh,
of
but
course
yeah,
not.
so the desire to impeachment was the claim that he had broken campaign finance laws. Again, if we're going to use that as the standard, AOC broke campaign finance laws. She and her campaign chairman embezzled.
Slash boyfriend.
No, not even the boyfriend. This was one of the Democracy Now or whatever you call it,
Oh, okay.
Justice Democrats guys,
Yeah.
who was her campaign chair. and they had embezzled money to go towards his company or something like that. Yeah, this wasn't even the boyfriend. No, that was um, um, oh, the skinny Arabic one. What's her name? The
Oh, Ilhan
Somali one.
Omar.
Yeah, Ilhan Omar. I wanted to say Talib, but she's not Syrian.
Somalian.
No, that's
Or,
Omar's the Somalian.
yeah.
She's from West Banks. What's that area? Anyway, yeah, Omar was the one who paid her then boyfriend, now apparently husband, I think, 80% of his company's revenue during her campaign came from them. And then one of the other squad members, I can't remember which one, also had her campaign pay his company money. I mean, there was
Yeah.
so much abusive campaign finances going on there, dark money, foreign investors, all that kind of stuff. So, if we're going to have the stuff they want to impeach Trump over be the standard, the loudest mouthpieces for impeachment are also guilty of those same problems.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with referring to the standard. I think there's two things because we've kind of gone in a bunch
Yeah,
of
we've
different
been all over
directions
the
like we
map
do.
tonight.
But
Shocker.
as we're approaching these things, we've got to have a standard,
Yeah.
and that standard has to be consistent and it has to be clear. And we need to be clear on what the accusations are too. So what's being
Yes.
alleged, and then apply that standard and apply it consistently, showing no favoritism, but because of the person, because of their office, because of their gender identity, whatever you want to call it, color of skin, nationality. That doesn't matter, right? And as Christians, we've got the example, right? The legal code of the Old Testament that's carried over in applications to the church in the New Testament is 2 or 3 witnesses for any charge to be established, right? So we need to have consistency among the witnesses, right? We need to have more witnesses. It's not just one voice, right? Something we weren't on the air yet, but something we talked about around the time Roy Moore was coming up in Alabama. Also around the same time, Al Franken was canceled by the left. So shout out to them for actually
Yeah, they actually
whipping
held him
somebody
to the
aside.
task.
Yeah, well, and I think they kind of had to because Roy Moore was having some similar issues come up. Granted, it was from way back in the past, but even the Democrats then recognized you had to have some consistency. You couldn't hold this person to one standard and this person to another standard so blatantly. And as Christians, we recognize that we can hold the same standard across the board, right? And be clear about what the charge is, be clear about what the standard is, and be consistent in how we apply it. So whether it's like Roy Moore trying to get elected, whether it's somebody like Cuomo who's already elected, what whether the charge is sexual harassment or campaign finance abuse, we have a standard that we can draw from. We have an understanding of justice that is consistent. And another example that we have from Scripture is not respecting anyone, but because of who they are, right? It doesn't matter how rich you are. Right? And the Bible has explicit condemnations against showing favoritism to the rich in opposition to the poor. The minor prophets are littered with castigation for injustice on a number of different areas, and it all boils down to the same thing: don't show favoritism because of who they are. And you look at the facts of the matter, and I don't know, that
No,
seem
man,
to kind of tie it
it's
together.
spot on. Yeah, it's spot on. Oh man, I just saw your message about taking the next section of the 1689 confession. That's funny.
You'd love to take that with Casey, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, you wouldn't, but I'd love to take it.
Oh no, the next section is just the canon, and I think that's one of the few areas of the confession where you and I would agree on.
Oh, I'd find some way to spin it against you.
Yeah, of course you would. Speaking of though, you heard the Pope. Because of global warming, God's going to judge the world with another flood.
Uh, I saw that post today. I rolled so hard it hurt.
With all of the books that Rome added to
Yeah,
the
what was it?
Bible.
Genesis 9. You commented. He
Yeah,
apparently
they just didn't have
all
any
the books he
room.
added. He didn't have Genesis 9. Is that what you said? Oh my
Yeah,
word.
didn't have room for it. That whole promise to not cover the earth with the floodwaters again.
Yeah. And I wanted to
Shame.
comment back something silly about Waterworld, but I decided to abstain on that.
Oh, that'd be great. I'll get a
Or a
gif of Kevin
meme or
Costner
a
with
GIF from
with
Waterworld.
just
Yeah.
his face,
Yeah.
or the
With
Pope
those.
just sitting on the boat like Bernie Sanders.
Oh yes. The Pope's face on the Bernie
That
Sanders
would be
cross
great.
arm on the boat.
For Waterworld, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna hear this and go create that meme. Somebody more mematic than I am.
Maybe me.
Maybe you. You're definitely more mematic than I am.
I do that from time to time.
Mm-mm. So how about in closing, talking about double standards and hypocrisy? How about the gold statue they rolled through the convention center for Trump? Yeah, yikes!
Yeah, I we talked about it. We kind of touched on it. What the last episode or the one before about how many Christians were compromised in their fervent support of Trump, and to see a literal golden idol rolled out, I wanted to just point.
Yeah.
You see that?
The
That's
the
why people don't
first
take you seriously.
the first thing I thought about was the golden calf.
Yeah,
And then one of the photos that was posted on social media was a outtake of Steven Crowder. People don't literally worship Obama or Trump either. Hero worship is a colloquialism. Stop with the pity complex. And below that, someone had inset a picture of people praying over Trump.
that did not age well.
Well, they were praying over Trump, but someone had inset that golden statue in place of the real Trump to make it look
Yeah.
like they were praying over a statue. And I initially thought it was real and ended up editing my post to point out the real picture. But still, nonetheless, the idea stands that there are people
Yeah.
who hold him up to a Messiah standard or worshipfulness. And man, no human other than Jesus is worthy of that.
Yeah.
Not close.
It's
No pope.
it's insane.
Yeah, man. I
A
was.
literal 2CV. I think we can both agree that
Yes.
is a 2CV.
Yes. Yes. As much as I think Calvinists overused the concept of 2CV, yeah, that is most definitely.
There we go.
Uh,
We got some agreement.
yeah. Yikes. Yikes, man. God. If you haven't seen it, you need to go search the CPAC golden Trump statue. It is cringeworthy.
What would you say if I photoshopped that on part of our logo? Just like
For
one of the
this
sections on
episode,
the
yeah, man. Picture for this episode. Don't make it any more permanent than that.
with I'm now I'm wondering. All right, so you've got the golden statue of Trump with the little Rocky boxing shorts, right? Or no, more like Apollo Creed from Rocky
Yeah.
Four. All right, right next to it, you've got the statue of Dagon. You know, the one that God knocked over and its head was off, but it's Cuomo's head over there.
Oh yes. Perfect, dude.
Oh man,
It
yeah.
would almost be even better if you could overlay that on the what's the plastic toy boxing game where they're robots punching each other and
Oh yeah,
knocking their head
Rock'em
off.
Sock'em Robots.
Rock'em sock'em, yes.
Yes, that's
Oh my
awesome.
word.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Battle of the Idols.
Yeah.
Fun times.
So yeah, I think this is where it gets off the rails for us.
Yeah, sorry, peeps. We had no plan for this one.
Yeah. No, I think they figured that out by now. But yeah, it's so important for us to come to these matters with clarity, with consistency, and regardless of what the world says, regardless of whether or not it fits our own biases, our own political motivations, right? Our when it comes to the question of justice, our first and foremost concern ought to be for justice, right? Not for political expediency, not to make ourselves look good or to make the people we like the most look good. Our concern ought to be for justice. And our desires ought to align with um, with that.
Agreed.
You get the last word, Alex. Final thoughts.
I'm speechless for once, man. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of the world we live in, the politics, the inconsistencies all around us, and not just the political party I identify less with, the one I don't like that I identify more with, the other side of the false dichotomy. I'm getting tired of it, man. Come, Lord Jesus. Giant Meteor 2021.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, brother. It's rough, but hey, it's the world we're in, so that's what we're gonna do. We got this. We can vent it. We can talk it out.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't mean to sound so fatalistic.
You're not Calvinist enough to be fatalistic.
True story. Hashtag true story. It's just everywhere you turn, man.
Yep.
There's just pain and suffering and frustration and anger and just horrible sin everywhere.
And that's just in my house.
You shouldn't even see my house then. Whew. Oh, man. All right. Let's end this on a high note.
Yeah.
The British apparently last week, I posted this on the 27th, so I think it happened on the 26th over there. The British apparently uncovered, I don't know, maybe a 2,000-pound high explosive bomb from World War II when they were doing some construction. They were digging up some dirt to build a new building. And they had what they called a controlled explosion. And you've got people recording it from a mile away, and there's, I don't know, 150-meter tall plume of smoke and debris flying straight up in the air with apartment complexes and university buildings all around it. They evacuated something like a 2.5 kilometer radius, 2,500 people, no, 2,000 homes were evacuated so they could do this controlled demolition. And then there's so much cussing. I had to do a disclaimer on the videos when I posted on my Facebook page of a language warning because everybody in the two videos I had were so shocked.
Wait, this is the high note you wanted to end the show on?
Yeah, dude, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. The responses, everyone's like, "Oh, I was not expecting that," but with much more British vulgarity. It's hilarious.
Think a screenshot of that freeze frame is going to be the screen cap for this episode.
Well, they don't video themselves. Oh, me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah, that's the high note. Laughing at
that's the high note we're going to end on.
Laughing at the shocked British vulgarity as they see this giant explosion that could have killed people, but just damaged a couple of buildings.
Well, if you got to choose between people and buildings,
right? High note, man.
Let the buildings go every time. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, thank you all for putting up with us this long. If you're still here, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your podcast catcher.
God bless you if you're still here.
God bless you indeed. Hit us up on YouTube. Subscribe there if you want the video content. And come say hey to us on one of the social medias. We'll see you around. See you next time. Love you guys.
Love you, peace.